The Winds of Winter will be opening with 4 different battle sequences. The Battle of Ice, Battle of Steel, and Battle of Blood have all already been discussed on this channel, and today I'm going to be focusing on the 4th and final of these upcoming conflicts, the Battle of Fire. This particular skirmish is going to be quite unique from the others in a number of interesting ways. First and foremost, it involves the most point of view characters out of any of these battles by a pretty decent margin, as at least 3, but up to potentially 5 characters could all be heading for this battle directly. What's more, it's the first battle in the Winds of Winter. We know this because we've seen the preludes to 3 of these battles in preview chapters for the Winds of Winter, but the Battle of Fire is the only one that we've actually seen begin within these preview chapters. Today I'm going to be analyzing some of these characters present in the preview chapters, and specifically delving into why I think one of them in particular is going to be the first point of view character killed in the Winds of Winter. So, thank you for joining me today for my examination of the death of Barristan Selmy. Barristan Selmy is quite unique as far as point of view characters go, as Martin has confirmed that his addition as a point of view is explicitly to solve one specific problem. Martin has confirmed on several occasions that one of the big problems that delayed A Dance with Dragons so much was what he called the Myronese knot. This is a reference to the historical Gordian knot, and this is his way of saying that so many point of view characters were converging on Meereen, and it was such a delicate and intricate situation that could have gone in so many different ways that it was just almost impossible to write around because there were so many different variables and things that needed to be consistent between these different point of view chapters, and even the order of events needed to be kind of shuffled and slotted in different orders as they went. Barristan Selmy was the answer to this problem, having this one extra point of view character who could kind of bridge the gap after Daenerys has left Meereen, but before the battle has begun and Victarion has arrived. I think that Barristan was a very good solution to this problem, but given the fact that he is just the solution to this problem, it brings into question whether or not he'll be essential going forward into the future of the story. Quick little celebratory announcement here. This is actually my 100th video, which is a weird milestone. I didn't think I was that far already. So yeah, if you enjoy this, want to see me make more, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe. Not only does it help me grow the channel, it also just helps my self-esteem a little bit, helps me make more videos. And yeah, without further ado, let's do a tonal right turn into Barristan's death, which is unfortunate, but seems quite likely to me. Also, to clarify in this video's title a little bit, given the fact that the Battle of Fire is going to be the first battle we see in Winds based on the preview chapters, I do think that whoever dies at the Battle of Fire, I think it very much is likely to be Barristan, but whoever it is, it'll be the first point of view character death of the Winds of Winter, because we know the other battles will not have started by the point the Battle of Fire has. Speaking of those preview chapters, that's where we get a lot of insight into Barristan, what he's doing, and how he's going to begin the Winds of Winter. We have 2 chapters for him so far. We have one that we have the full text of. It was released in the A Dance with Dragons paperback copy, and it's in all of those. So if you have one of those, feel free to read it. And the second chapter is something that Martin read at a convention once that we have a fan transcription of, so that's a little less reliable. However, there are still a number of good details we get from both of these chapters. First and foremost, that Barristan is leaving the walls of Meereen and meeting the Yunkai forces in the field. This seems like a really strange move, as he is within these walls themselves, but he justifies it as the city is currently being ravaged by a disease called the Pale Mare, which is pretty much dysentery, as the Yunkai are kind of flinging bodies via catapults into the city and allowing the disease to spread. However, it's still not the best to be leaving the city this soon, as Barristan could probably survive for weeks, if not a month, in the city, rather than just going out immediately and facing these forces who are still fresh and haven't been kind of whittled down by waiting through a siege for a while, in addition to potentially meeting the Ironborn in the field. It's good to note that Barristan is also very much a stranger in a strange land here. He does not know very much about the culture of the people he's currently dealing with. He's dealing with sellswords who he inherently mistrusts, and that is a thought that looms large in his mind, both in Dance and in Winds. And what's more, he's backed by about 200 pit fighters who follow him into the thick of the fighting in his second chapter in Winds. This is a big deal because one thing that Barristan does in A Dance with Dragons is kill a pit fighter, and all of the other pit fighters very much take note of this and seem to not like Barristan for doing this. So, given that he probably shouldn't be trusting the forces at his back, it seems quite likely that things could go wrong for Barristan in some degree or another. What's more, his tactics are very much questionable at best. The main way he is signaling his troops is via horn. Specifically, he says that he will sound the horn 3 times to have his troops advance in order to kind of continue the line of attack and make sure things are orderly and expressly as he wants them. However, we know that Victarion Greyjoy is also bearing down on Meereen, also with a very important horn that he plans on blowing 3 times, or his thralls will blow 3 times. So this could very much cause confusion amongst Barristan's ranks. And what's more, the Yunkai forces seem to be quite formidable, or at the very least intimidating, leading to a lot of chaos on the ground that Barristan very much could be in the middle of. We know from the second sample chapter that we have the fan transcription of that he is the first one in the fray here. I'm not talking about the phrase today, though. But no, he is very much the one who is going to be in danger in this situation. Since I mentioned the elephant seal in the room, it is good to note that Victarion Greyjoy is a character who is also quite likely to die at the Battle of Fire. However, personally, I don't think he's very likely to do so at all. Victarion Greyjoy is someone who Martin seems to have grown fonder of as he's written. As we've seen in early drafts of his recently unearthed, he had planned on killing Victarion off as early as late in A Feast for Crows. And he's lived this long and seems to live into Winds. And given the fact that he is very much the dumbest character in the story, I don't think that Martin would want to pass up a chance for him and the smartest character in the story, Tyrion Lannister, to have a conversation. What's more, even if he does get impatient and blow the horn himself, which it seems like is a very real possibility given how strange Victarion is acting in some of his sample chapters for Winds, I don't think that might be fatal for Victarion Greyjoy. The key reason why I don't think blowing the horn would kill Victarion is his Red Priest Makoro. We've seen Red Priests bring people back from the dead a number of occasions in A Song of Ice and Fire, and we've even seen Makoro heal Victarion with his infected hand. I think that even if Victarion does get really impulsive and decides to blow the horn, I think that it's less likely that he's going to be the one who's killed in this battle, because he does have a resurrection specialist on hand, as Makoro does seem to be quite magically powerful, as he seems to have more accurate visions of the future than Melisandre, and seems to have very good healing powers with Victarion's hand. So who knows, Victarion could end up stronger than he was after blowing the horn. And circling back to Barristan's current situation a bit, we know that those surrounding him are shouting Hisdar and Lorak and all of these names that are not Daenerys or Barristan, kind of mentioning the fact that these are not people who are loyal to him. His main action in power was removing Hisdar from power. So these people are actively thinking about what Barristan did to make their state of living worse. Any role that Barristan could play in Daenerys' camp and in the story as a whole could very much be taken over by the time the Battle of Fire is ended. First and foremost, his position as Hand of the Queen seems likely to go to Tyrion in the aftermath of the battle. Tyrion has positioned himself quite well by winning Brown Ben Plum to Daenerys' side, and he has already been Hand of the King before, so he very much has the experience necessary for this job and has a political mind that Barristan lacks. What's more, if Daenerys needs a general who's obsessed with glory and battle, she'll have Victarion, who is, yes, dumber and less honor-obsessed than Barristan, but could still fill the role of a general quite well, especially given the fact that she'll have Dothraki and Unsullied who kind of lead their own troops, whereas Victarion would have his own fleet on top of that, whereas Barristan would be commanding these troops that already exist. And what's more, Daenerys also has an older Westerosi man who's wise and able to guide her through her decisions in invading the continent, currently on her way to her. Marwyn the Mage leaves at the end of A Feast for Crows and will assumedly arrive in Meereen at some point soon in the Winds of Winter. So all roles that Barristan could fill here very much seem like they'd go to other people. His death would clear the way for these actors to kind of take their new roles in Daenerys' camp. And I think that having Barristan around would really just muddy the waters a bit and just make things even more complicated for Martin to write, which I think he very much wants to avoid at all costs, given that other people, cough cough, Bran, cough cough, are giving him so much trouble in this book. The thing that seals this death deal for me is Barristan's overt parallels to Criston Cole. You might not have expected to hear his name in this video, but Barristan's chapters in A Dance with Dragons, and the names specifically, directly reference this Kingsguard and his role in the Dance of the Dragons. To get a bit more specific, his chapters are The Queen's Guard, which mirrors Criston's status on the Kingsguard, The Discarded Knight, which mirrors Criston being discarded by Rhaenyra after their affair, the Kingbreaker, which mirrors the role of Criston Cole as the Kingmaker to Aegon II Targaryen, and the Queen's Hand, which is a position that Criston later fills in the war. So overall, these seem to create some parallel between Barristan and Criston Cole, which could manifest in a big way in the Winds of Winter. Spoilers for House of the Dragon in this section. Be sure to skip ahead to the next timestamp if you want to avoid those. But Criston Cole's fate in the Dance of the Dragons is being killed unceremoniously in a battle that doesn't end up being all that important. And I think that Barristan is being set up to do exactly the same. They are both Kingsguard, known for their skill and renowned for their feats and accomplishments in the field, but overall they are going to be snuffed out unceremoniously far away from their homes. Criston just somewhere off at Butcher's Ball, whereas Barristan is going to be even further off in a strange land in Meereen, far from his home in Westeros. Overall, the whole ending quote of Criston Cole not having any songs sung about his death is the main thing that rings true to me as applying to Barristan's death in the Winds of Winter. No songs will be sung of this great Kingsguard's death, as he has died so far from those who once admired him. Thus would end the tragic life of Barristan Selmy. He's defined by both honor and strength, as well as missed potential and some faults and some mistakes. Overall, he is a good man who ends up doing the wrong thing and being manipulated sometimes, but overall his role in the story is something that I very much have enjoyed throughout his time in A Dance with Dragons as a point of view character and even earlier in the story. I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you think is going to die in the Winds of Winter, and especially in both early on in the story and overall. And they could be point of view characters or not point of view characters. Thank you all for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that typical YouTube stuff. Really helps me grow the channel, and I always appreciate it. So, yeah, again, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you for watching my 100th video as well. I forgot to mention that. This is my 100th video. That's crazy. But yeah, I've rambled on for long enough. I will talk to you all soon.